Hello and welcome to this demonstration describing the use of SDL include files with PartBuilder to make symbol creation even more efficient. Include files have been around the world of programming for a long time. They are mostly used to share information between files. The symbol description language in PartBuilder incorporates include files to share common pin layouts between devices and to make larger SDL files easier to read and manage. The directive to include a file is tick include file name. When expanding the top-level SDL file, PartBuilder will check for the existence of the file name in the local working directory and any of the library directories set up in PartBuilder. This allows you to establish a set of shared directories to keep commonly used include files. The include directive may also be inserted inside a loop directive so that the contents may be replicated with proper pin name substitution for each instance. When we look at the pinouts for an FPGA in a vendor device family, the configuration pins are usually the same across all devices. So when we build one device and create the symbol for those configuration pins, we can save that SDL in a separate file called FPGA config-pins.sdl. Each time we build another device in that family, we can save a lot of time and get a very consistent configuration pin symbol at the same time by including that SDL file in the top level file. The core power pins for each member of the same FPGA family will also be very similar. And because SDL is very flexible when it comes to adding power pins, we should remove any indexes that might limit the number of power pins we add per device. Another reason we might use include files is that the SDL-Editor is more responsive and easier to navigate with smaller SDL files. If the SDL file is longer than 200 lines, we can split some of the symbols into an include file. It might make sense, for instance, to put all the power pins in an include file called powerpins.sdl and then replace it with an include powerpins.sdl in the main SDL file. The SDL-Editor has been revamped to provide powerful support for include files. Let's look at the new context menu operations provided in the SDL-Editor which pertain to include files. We now have the expand include file contents, replace selection with include file, move selection to include file, select include file, edit selected include file. And at the top of the context menu we have also added the open SDL file operation, and another newly added item is the paste from global buffer. The expand include file contents is used on a line in the SDL file that has the tick include file directive. When this operation is selected, the include directive will be removed, and in its place the contents of the selected SDL file will be inserted. This lets the user easily move back and forth between using include files or not. The replace selection with include file operation prompts the user to select an existing include file, then removes a selected line and replaces them with the tick include directive, which specifies the selected file. Here we see that the selected ranges of lines have been removed and a new tick include directive is inserted in its place. The move selection to include file is very similar, but it prompts the user to choose a new or existing SDL file to write the selected lines to. It removes the lines from the current SDL file and replaces them with the tick include directive. Here we take the selected spare IO symbol lines, write them to a spare IO SDL file, and then we see the new tick include directory inserted after the lines are removed. The select include file operation prompts the user to select an existing SDL file to include in the current SDL file. It will then insert the tick include directive without removing any lines. The edit selected include file works if the selected line contains a tick include directive. If it does, and that file that it selects exists in either the local directory or any of the directories included in the PartBuilder library config setting, PartBuilder will pop up a new SDL-Editor window with the contents of the selected include file. In that editor window, we can work on organizing the smaller set of pins from the selected file. The Open SDL file operation allows the user to select any existing SDL file without trying to select the file from the currently selected line, and opens another SDL-Editor window to enable editing of that file. The paste from global buffer operation allows the user to cut, copy, and paste between SDL-Editor windows. Whenever a cut or copy operation is performed, it gets stored in a local paste buffer for that SDL-Editor window and in the global paste buffer.
The contents of the global paste buffer is available to other SDL-Editor windows, so the content can easily be removed or copied to other SDL windows. Here we open a new .sdl file and then copy some lines from the main SDL-Editor window to the new file. In conclusion, the new SDL include file capability makes building symbols even more efficient. Include files make the top-level SDL file easier to read. They enable reuse for parts with common pin definitions like FPGAs and ASICs. Include files may contain one or more symbols or just fragments of valid SDL. PartBuilder can be configured to search a list of directories for the include files. And finally, new features in the SDL-Editor simplify the process of creating, editing, and managing the include files. If you'd like to try PartBuilder, go to the free tool downloads page on www.cadenhance.com, download the latest version, and follow the instructions there to install and request a demo license. Thanks for watching this demonstration about using SDL include files to make PartBuilder even more efficient when creating symbols.